Good evening. And thank you so much for being here. Before I just share a few welcoming comments, I do want to recognize some of your city council members who have joined us tonight. Council Lady Wendy Moore, please hit your stand or raise your hand. Council Lady Joan Hole, Council Lady Beverly Bolner, and Councilman Bruce Clark. I want to thank those elected officials for coming here tonight. They certainly are representing their constituency with their interest in being here. If there are any other elected officials, could you stand and be recognized, please? Any other elected officials at this point? And we want to thank you for coming as well. Just to talk a little bit about what our schedule is tonight, you can see here, we're going to share with you the information that we have available to us. And the goal there is to have you come away from this event with more information, more data, to allow you to form an opinion based on that data. There are a lot of things that are out there. There's a lot of information that is out there. And I will tell you, particularly with social media, unfortunately, in this country, we're experiencing a tremendous amount of misinformation and just downright incorrect data. The goal tonight is to try and give you more information as we have it and as we see it. And we want to do that, as Jeff said, in a positive way. And that's why when we started what's called Rapport, which is our town hall series, we did it a couple years ago because we knew that we needed to spend more time out in the community. And really what brought this to light was I was addressing a school board, one of the regional school boards, and it was supposed to just be a public comment. And in public comment, you can get up, you have your 3 minutes to say what you need to say, and then get off. And as I finished what I was saying and went to leave, the chairman of this board said, "Hold on a second. You stay right there. We've got some questions of you." And what was clear to me is that the port wasn't spending enough time out in the community. That was 2 years ago. Since that time, we've done 8, 9 of these Rapport series. And the reason why we named it Rapport is because, as you can see from the definition, the Merriam-Webster definition of Rapport, it's very simply, a friendly, harmonious relationship. Especially a relationship that's characterized by agreement, by mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible and easy. I assure you, this port has absolute empathy for this community. We've been here for 93 years. We are here to listen to you. We're here to share with what we have, what information we have. And I think we've got a pretty good track record, and I certainly, our biggest asset is not our ship channel, it's not the docks, it's our people. It's the hardworking men, women and men that make the Port of Corpus Christi such a special place. And I can assure you, they truly care about this community. Why? Because they live in this community, and I live in this community. Some of us are amongst you tonight, and it's because we do care about this community. We are not here to try and change your mind on anything. We're here to give you information so you can form your own opinion. But we're not here to try and change your mind. I want to just talk a little bit about what we're thinking on Harbor Island. Obviously, there are 3 distinct projects that the fine people on staff here that I'm about to introduce you are going to go through. One is the deepening and widening of the Corpus Christi ship channel. And you've seen some of that activity going on as we speak. 2 is the Harbor Island terminal development. I'm going to share some information about that. And then 3 is the seawater desalination project. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. There is also an offshore buoy that is an adjunct to the Harbor Island project, and we're going to talk about that. For every, our vision here is we want to spend an hour talking and an hour listening. And that way we think we're going to build that harmonious relationship where there's certainly a balance. It's not just about us standing up here having that one-way conversation. But I do believe that we can do it with a level of decorum that seems to be lost these days. We're going to talk a bit about the historical use of the Harbor Island. Many of you are perhaps in the last 20 years, have moved here to Port Aransas. I know many of you have been here a lot longer than that. It's important to at least understand the context of what we're doing there, why we're doing it there, and the benefits, not only the economic benefits, but certainly what environmental impacts, if any, and what environmental benefits there will be as well. Because, believe it or not, we do believe that there will be some environmental benefits as well. At the end, to Jeff's point, we're here to learn as much as we're here to shape. And we hope that we're going to come away with more information. And so I would encourage you to take this opportunity to ask questions. This is not a formal Port Commission meeting, okay? So there's not a commission here or a forum. This is not a public meeting in the sense of us being a public agency. We do have public commission meetings every month. They are the third Tuesday of the month at 9 o'clock. I encourage you, that's the normal time. Sometimes I start a little bit sooner. We publish that agenda the Friday before the third Tuesday of the month. It can be found on our website. I would encourage you to attend those meetings if you want to engage the Port Commission. There is a public comment period at the beginning of that meeting, and everybody who signs up for a public comment can have 3 minutes of that. This is not that meeting. This is a meeting of Port staff sharing the information that we have thus far with you. And so I just want to, from that context, there are no commissioners that are going to be here to make decisions. There may be some commissioners in the audience, but at the end of the day, this is not a formal Port Commission meeting, so I want to make sure that you have that context. Lastly, I know that there's a lot of information out there. We're going to try and do point counterpoint. If we don't get all that information for you, our commitment is we will get what we can to you as it becomes available to us. There's been a lot of discussion about our transparency. And at the end of the day, we can be as transparent as we can be for where we are in the process. If there are things that are in the process that we aren't sure of, or we have not fully qualified, it's better for us to not share that information at this point until it's been fully vetted, fully analyzed, fully researched, and we can come to a point where we feel that it's a good position for us to be able to share with you. That's how that misinformation gets out there. And so we hope that we'll be able to counterpoint some of that misinformation is out there. At the end of the day, we do all have one common denominator, and that is clearly by your presence here, you care about this community, and by our presence here, we care about this community as well. So if we all can come from that common point of reference and position, I think we'll have a really constructive and productive meeting. So with that, I will get the program kicked off. I'm going to introduce, you saw Jeff Pollock, he's our Director of Planning. Jeff is a coastal engineer with a long history in planning. Most recently came to us from the Metropolitan Planning Organization, where he was the Executive Director. The MPO is the regional entity for transportation funds that interfaces with TxDOT and the federal government as we talk about our surface transportation needs and impacts, and we're extremely pleased to have Jeff as part of our team. Next is Sarah Garza. Sarah is our Director of Environmental Planning and Compliance. This is a department that when I arrived here at Port of Corpus Christi in 2015, we didn't have an environmental department. I said, where's our environmental department? They said, well, we got an environmental person, it's Sarah. And she was buried somewhere in the engineering group as manager. And I said, no, we've got to elevate that. That is something that's so vital. And as we grow, we're going to need to make sure that we have a strong environmental policy. So we elevated Sarah, we created a department that she has led, and we convinced the Commission in 2016 to pass a environmental policy that very simply states, we will not undertake any operation or any development if all of the following 5 precepts are not taken into consideration. And that's air quality, water quality, soils and sediments quality, habitat preservation and restoration, and conservation, and environmental stewardship and sustainability. What is that last one? Environmental stewardship and sustainability. Environmental stewardship is going beyond what's required by statute. If you're just doing what's required by law, is that stewardship? In our mind, it's not. Stewardship is creating a bar and going above. And we expect that from our clients, our customers, our tenants. So much so that we have put that information, we have holding them to a higher standard than what is being required by statute. We have been recognized for all the hard work that Sarah and her group and the rest of the organization has done in pollution prevention. We have a ship channel that has one of the best water qualities in the entire country. And I'm very proud to say that. We've got statistical, quantifiable, empirical data to support that. And more importantly, you can see it firsthand as the Texas State Aquarium draws its water out of its dolphins, for its dolphins, and it's right out of the Corpus Christi Ship Channel. No other state aquarium in the country can say that. That's a badge of honor that we really take a lot of pride in. But we're going to protect that. And this is a commission and certainly a staff that is committed to that environmental sustainability and stewardship. 100% of our energy buy, our power buy at the Port Authority's power buy, 100% of it is renewable. That's because we made a commitment to that. It costs us more money, but we made a commitment to that. We're going to protect the environment as best we can, and that's why that oversight, as Jeff mentioned earlier, the oversight that we bring to these projects allows for our direct oversight and your elected officials' indirect oversight. Because many of the officials that you elect at the county level and certainly at the city of Corpus Christi, they appoint my bosses, not the 7 Port commissioners, but appointed by those elected officials, people that you elect. So there is an indirect oversight for the people that you elect. That's certainly, I think, preferable to no oversight, which there is examples of no oversight in the state. So we take that position very seriously. Lastly, certainly not least, is Dan Kuzma. Dan is our Chief of Channel Development. I say Dan for last week, he's going to be first to present to you what we're doing with the Channel Development Project. There's been a lot of confusion about that, perhaps some misinformation about that. There are actually 2 distinct projects. One that is underway in the construction of it, that's the 54-foot deepening and the widening to 530 feet of the Corpus Christi Ship Channel in those areas that need the widening. And then 2, there is a permit application that the Port has submitted to deepen to 75 feet to Harbor Island to be able to handle a larger classification vessels. And we're going to talk about that project as well. But those are 2 distinct projects. One project's taken us 29 years to get here. That's the current 54-foot project. Congressman Solomon Ortiz, back in 1990, authorized Congress to approve that project's feasibility study. It took 13 years for the Corps to execute on that feasibility study. It took another 4 years for Congress to authorize it. It took us another 10 years for the Corps and the Port to reach agreement on the project partnership agreement, and it took another 2 years for federal funding and contracting of creative exploration by the Corps. That's 29 years. That's way too long, in our opinion, in our estimation, which is why we're advocates for reform on core processes. And in the absence of that, that's why you're seeing these buoys being announced. I'd like to say that the reason these buoys are being announced is because they're more environmentally responsible, but unfortunately that's not the case. What they are is they're quicker to market than what the Corps has been able to demonstrate its ability to execute. And I'll talk about that at the end of the presentation. But we're going to give you a little bit of an update on the current channel development project, the 54-foot project. That's the project that we've seen. And I'd like to invite Dan Kuzma to the stage to do that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by just thanking everybody for coming here. This is really a great turnout. I'm glad to see it. I'm really excited to provide an update on the Channel Improvement Project. As Sean mentioned, this project has really been in the works for a long time, and it's taken a multitude of people over the years to make it a reality. And right now, we have a tremendous amount of momentum in this project. We have a project partnership agreement executed with the Army Corps of Engineers. The project has received significant federal funding in the past 3 years. The port has provided a significant level of funding. The first construction contract to dredge from the Gulf of Mexico to Harbor Island is well underway, it's about 50% complete. And the next contract to go from Harbor Island to the Keith Junction is fully designed, and that one's getting ready to be awarded later this year. So a lot of great things are happening with the project. I spent a little time here just reviewing what the project is. So the Channel Improvement Project is a federal navigation project. It's designed and built by the Army Corps of Engineers. The Port of Corpus Christi is the non-federal sponsor to this project. This project Water Resources Development Act of 2007. The authorization included 4 elements, and that's what we have up here on the screen. The first element is the Wakita Channel extension. At the time of this authorization, the Wakita Channel ended at the Sherwin Aluminum facility. And so what this element does is it extended the Wakita Channel about 1.4 miles to the west at a depth of -41 feet. It included construction of a 200-acre beneficial use site, which is out there now doing great, and also included construction of the San Patricio turning basin. This project was completed, or this segment was completed in 2013, and following the federal construction, the port executed an assumption of maintenance agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers, which allowed us to deepen that extension another 6 feet to match the Wakita Channel, and the Army Corps of Engineers takes over the maintenance responsibilities. So all that work is completed back in the 2013 timeframe. The second element of the authorization was construction of ecosystem restoration features at Ingleside on the Bay. It included a breakwater structure, shoreline protection, and that project, that segment was completed in 2013. So that left the remaining 2 elements to be constructed. First element, 4 feet, and it includes widening the reach across Redfish Bay from 500 to 530 feet, and then widening the upper bay, or Corpus Christi Bay, from 400 feet to 530 feet. And then lastly, there's some minor adjustments in the harbor. And the last element is construction of barge lanes from the Gulf to Harbor Island. That was awarded in December of last year. All that material is being placed in EPA-designated beneficial use sites offshore. Dredging began in April, and we expect that to be completed no later than February of next year. The second contract from Harbor Island to Keith Junction, as I mentioned, design is complete, and we anticipate awarding that at the end of this year. And one thing I'll mention there, a large majority of that material is going to be used to create 2 beneficial use sites in the lower bay, so that'll be a really successful project. The third construction contract is to go from Wakita Junction to the Harbor Bridge. Design's underway on that. We expect to award that in late 2020. And then the final stretch, the Inner Harbor, preliminary design has been completed, and we expect to award that in FY 2021. Lastly, I just put a little depiction up here. This is a section taken from Corpus Christi Bay. That section of the channel is only 400 feet wide. And so that causes significant problems for the existing fleet. You know, it's in a shallow area, it's an open bay, there's strong currents, there's strong winds, and it really poses a safety risk. So by widening and deepening this section along to us, it's really going to improve our safety and our efficiency. And lastly, because the most frequent accidents between vessels are between ships and inland tows. So by providing barge shelves across the Corpus Christi Bay, this is really going to reduce the chances for collisions in that area. With that said, I'll pass it over to Sarah Garza, and she's going to provide an update on the Harbor Island terminal redevelopment.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. So I get the pleasure of talking to you about updates regarding the Harbor Island terminal. And Since we have last presented on this project, we have enlisted a customer out there. So our customer is Lone Star Terminal, and we are working with them to develop the berths for that. So this graphic that you see here is the current layout, and this is a design that's continuing to undergo an optimization process. And so that's the way a design process works. You start out with a concept and continue to build on that concept, refining it as you go forward. And so the docks are meant to be 80,000 barrels per hour loading capability, and they will be 24-hour manned operations. And so during the development of the design, some of the key factors that are driving the design include environmental considerations, safety considerations, economics, as well as visual impacts. And so with this layout that we have here, you'll notice that the berths are now tucked back into Harbor Island a bit, and so there's some protection there with regard to safety with the currents that pass through in front of Harbor Island, as well as some environmental benefits. And I'll talk to some of that more specifically as I go through my slides here. First, I wanted to present to you a picture that it occurred to me a while ago that probably many are not familiar with. This is actually the bathymetry of the ship channel bottom in front of Harbor Island. And so this red area right here is 90 feet deep. That happens naturally. This deeper area here, 90 feet going out to 70 feet, and then on out to 54 feet. None of this has been dredged to that depth. That is naturally occurring because of the confluence of the channel there. There's a natural eddy that washes out that area and creates it. So I wanted to give you this perspective so that you understand some of where we're coming from on some of the other stuff that we're doing, or some of the things that we have said. So I do want to talk a little bit about the contamination on Harbor Island. And so many of you may not know, I've been with the port for 17 years. And the first 10 years of my career at the Port of Corpus Christi was overseeing the cleanup here at the Harbor Island facility. And so the Port of Corpus Christi purchased the property. The property had been formerly utilized as tank farms by two different entities. And one entity began the cleanup and got it through de-recordation to commercial industrial standards, and the other entity started with the cleanup, and then there was, some budget constraints, so it slowed down, and then started up a little bit again. And in this process, the port was wanting to be able to use the property. And so we stepped in and started doing some of the remediation efforts, and then combined those efforts resulted in, again, a commercial industrial de-recordation. And so there's lots of concern about the contamination at Harbor Island. We are well aware of it. There have been hundreds, if not thousands, of soil borings that have been installed on the island, making us aware of what is there. This is all being fed into the design process. And so some of the areas that I have here highlighted are areas that actually exceed the commercial industrial standard, and that's why they were called out in the de-recordation. And that's because there were obstructions not allowing us to get in there and fully remediate that area at the time that we're doing remediation. And so because of that, the state allowed for the de-recordation. Again, we're very aware of what that is right there in that area, and we've already contracted a company to come in, do some more investigation just to see what has happened, because some of that stuff that was an obstruction before has been demolished, and so now we're able to get in there and take care of it. And you saw from the previous berth design that that is right within the footprint of that. So we've already talked with the design engineers about segregating that material and what can be done for it. Now, I want to also point out that while we're doing all this and removing this material and segregating it and managing it, one, we will be able to remediate these areas that, just a little background on de-recordation. We would not have been been able to record those areas if there was a potential for them to leach out into the environment and cause issue. And so what we're going to do here is we're actually going to clean up those areas that have been sitting there for a while, and also moving that material that's out there on Harbor Island and segregating it and isolating it. So what we are proposing to do is not going to make the situation worse. Obviously, we would not be able to do that. We are in direct communication with the Railroad Commission of Texas, who is the one that regulated this in the first place. And so we'll continue those conversations with them through the site assessment process. They actually have a person who will accompany us out in the field when we're doing our investigation, and then we'll share with them what the design plans are and get their approvals ahead of time. So I wanted you to be aware that we are aware of that situation, and it is being incorporated into the design. Now I just want to talk through how the design is progressing with regard to the 5 precepts that Mr. Strawbridge brought up in his remarks. So he mentioned there are 5 environmental precepts, and so the first off, I want to talk about sustainability. One of the things that we have going for us in this particular situation is we have the opportunity, instead of rehabbing an existing facility, we're starting brand new with this facility. And so this facility is going to be built to today's standards, not to the standards for when this operated back in the 40s, 50s, even up to the 90s. These are current standards. And so some of the things that are taken into consideration with today's technology are voluntary facility certifications that we are employing with part of this. So one of them is Green Marine. I think you probably have heard me talk about Green Marine before. It's a certification that's specific to the maritime industry, specifically related to environmental. And so I'm not going to get too much into detail on that, but I will be happy to answer questions later on that. Another one is Marine Oil Terminal Engineering and Inspection Standard. These are voluntary standards that we're taking a look at and see where we can incorporate into the design. Some of the other things that we're doing out there, power generation. There's a need for power out there, and as we have the opportunity to build up power, we're looking at alternatives, not just the usual hard wires going out to the island that are susceptible to storms and things like that. We're looking for opportunities to bring alternative energy into the design of the facility. From the air quality perspective, I'm sure you've seen out there the Lone Star Ports air permit application. It does talk about 100% capture of the emissions that are then combusted. And then the big thing about this facility, so taking advantage of the deepening project that Dan just described, we're going to be able to have a terminal that will allow vessels to be filled up to almost capacity. So the 54-foot, for instance, will allow Suez-sized vessels to be almost completely loaded. Being able to do that will allow for reverse lightering operations that happen out in the Gulf of Mexico, completely uncontrolled, to start to be reduced. And so that's the idea with this terminal. And then as we get into another project, we'll talk about the channel deepening project. We'll also talk about the ability to fully load VLCCs at this terminal. Another thing I want to talk about with regard to habitat, there is a number of surveys that have already been done in front of Harbor Island. And so I showed you the graphic earlier about the depth of the channel in front of Harbor Island. It does not facilitate shallow ecosystems. And so there are not seagrasses, there are not oysters. This has already been we've already gone out and surveyed for this stuff. There is less than a third of an acre of wetlands on the upland portion that is not able to be avoided. It actually will be excavated when we do the berth excavation. But the quality of the wetland is what you call a palustrine emergent wetland. So there's an area that stays wet and the vegetation persists through the year. So it's not a high quality wetland, and it's not connected to any marine areas. And then we're also optimizing the design. So the facility is on the front side of Harbor Island, whereas a lot of the habitat that everybody is very concerned about, as are we, is behind the island. And so our operations are not going to be facing or impacting that area of the ecosystem. And so just wanted to share that and point that issue out. Now there are going to be certainly more things that are happening. We do own a pipeline right of way that goes along the island. It's an old road right of way. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about with design of these different projects that will allow us to utilize already impacted areas such as Harbor Island and this road right of way that aren't going out in new fresh areas and causing disturbance. So next thing I want to talk about relates to water quality and sediments precept. Spills, that is a big issue. I know everybody is concerned about that. One of the things when we were first coming out and presenting on this project, I think one of the things that you saw were the idea that all the tanks would be on Harbor Island. Well, that has since been optimized. We're only going to have 2 surge tanks on Harbor Island. There might be an opportunity for a couple more, but the main storage is not going to be on Harbor Island like was initially thought. The tanks will be in secondary containment. We are designing the facility using inputs from studies that are and we have gotten a confirmation from our customer that they will deploy boom for all loading operations. And then the vessel loading arms are actually equipped with an emergency release shutoff system. And so what happens if the boat gets pulled away from, if the vessel gets pulled away from the dock, those arms and those arms separate, they automatically cut off. And so there won't be, close separation with product flowing into the water. We are designing the facility with on-site spill response capabilities, as well as a fire suppression system. And then we have recently talked with UTMSI about using a modeling system that was done for GLO for spill response and looking at different opportunities and actually embedding our spill response designed into the system against what this model says to see how well it will protect the surrounding ecosystem. So this is just a picture of some of the different technologies that we are looking at and visiting. So here are the loading arms I spoke to. This is the VCU, this is vapor combustion unit, where the emissions will be captured, fire suppression system, and then also tank the air emissions for the tank. And so finally, I just want to talk a little bit to some of the other coordination that is underway. There isn't really necessarily data coming out of it just yet. We are actively working with the Texas Department of Transportation regarding the ferry and being able to avoid impacts. Again, the Harbor Island facility is on the other side of where the ferry landing is at, and so that alone will be part of the avoidance. We are working with the Railroad Commission of Texas on the management of the deed recorded soils in the upland. We are adding some modeling, including economic impact, storm surge and tidal modeling, as well as municipal planning, which I already talked about. And then underway as part of the design process is the passing vessel and pilot simulations that are going to be ongoing until the design is finalized. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Jack.
Hello again. So I suspect many of you know, Phillips 66, a Texas-based oil company, has submitted an application to the Maritime Administration, MARAD. It was late May, 1st of June, for a deep water port license. And that entire application is available publicly through the Federal Register. I encourage any of you with curiosity about the project to investigate it. It's several thousand pages divided into several volumes, which I've done my best here to capture the salient points of just simplicity, and then of course happy to answer any questions to the extent I can. Again, just as Sarah was with the Lodestar terminal, to some extent, we're speaking on behalf of the customer here, so it's very possible that you'll have questions about design details that we don't have, but we will seek them for you. So in essence, Phillips is proposing to construct two co-joined single-point mooring buoys. They'd be about a mile apart, about 21 miles northeast of Port Aransas, the Aransas Pass. The project would include a total of about 50 miles of pipeline in aggregate, starting at their tank storage facility around Taft. They're anticipating somewhere on the order of 12 million barrels of storage in the Taft area. It would include a booster station on Harbor Island, a pretty small footprint, 19 acres in total, including the buffer around the facility. The tankage on Harbor Island associated with that booster station would be minimal. It's only that which is required to be able to drain the offshore line in case of emergency. So I think that the notion right now is that it will be somewhere between 2 and 4 relatively small tanks. Again, it's only enough capacity for those tanks to be empty almost all the time, filled with water, and just available as storage capacity should those lines need to be drained in the case of an emergency storm or some other event. The project, as designed, the pipeline routing has avoided all impacts to special aquatic resources, to seagrass cloisters, because it utilizes existing pipeline easements and horizontal direction drilling. The project, because of its location to the northeast of the urbanized area, prevailing southeast winds, has modeling demonstrates that there's no impact on urbanized airshed and thus no impact on air quality, federal air quality attainment status with federal standards for ozone. I'm making sure I'm covering all the points here, and I certainly know you guys can read this on your own. I think the other key differentiator for this project for us is that Phillips is working through the Port Authority, and in doing so has demonstrated a commitment to upholding public interest, to involving the public in their process, and a recognition that the portion of the revenues generated by the project which should and will stay and be reinvested locally. Our buoy system would be relative to offshore acreage and to the fairways that are designated for vessel traffic toward into the proposed pipeline alignment is. And we have one more map that illustrates what is coming to the region in terms of pipeline connectivity. The Phillips facility in Taft will connect to the Gray Oak pipeline, which they operate, Red Oak, Liberty, and potentially some other.
This project is something that the board is working on, and the reason we're working on this is to provide access for larger, more efficient vessels. We want to improve safety and reduce environmental impacts by eliminating reverse lightning operations in the Gulf. So the way we approach this as a Port Authority is we contracted AECOM Technical Services to do a very significant environmental and feasibility study to look at deepening the channel from the Gulf of Mexico to Harbor Island. Their work include preliminary engineering, environmental, they did surveying, geotechnical investigations. They developed a very robust dredge material master plan. Ship simulations, economic evaluations, the hydrodynamic modeling, as well as NEPA analysis. And so the findings found that the project was economically and environmentally feasible, and the Port has submitted a permit application to the Army Corps of Engineers to permit these channel improvements. The next slide I have here is all of those. And I know a lot of you folks that attended open houses back last year on this project. Basically, the project, and I apologize, it's a little busy, this slide here. Gulf of Mexico from 56 feet to 77 feet. And this is really an extending about 5.4 miles from where the end of the existing channel improvement project is to end. And that's in order to reach the 77-foot contour in the Gulf. And then secondly, it would be deepening from 54 feet inside the jetties to 75 feet to Harbor Island. So there's a lot of material to deal with, and what AECOM was developed a very robust for short. And they identified well over 20 sites to place this material, including mostly beneficial use sites. These sites will be able to take material, provide fill for hardly impacted areas, provide beach re-nourishment, provide improvements to habitat along the ship channel. See lots of new and existing beneficial use sites. And then there's a little bit of offshore placement as well. And I'll keep it brief because I know a lot of you have seen this. I'm going to pass it to Sarah. She's going to talk a little bit about what the environmental findings were and talk a little bit about what the permitting efforts are for this project.
Okay, so this project actually, sorry about that, it can be so loud, is out on public notice right now. The project is going through in EIS, and so this is the initial public notice to let the public know that we are initiating this process and that it will go through in EIS. We expect that the draft EIS will be sometime next year, later in the fall. There has been a lot of work done, like Dan has said already, on this project, and so I'm going to highlight some of it here, and certainly we can answer some questions if there's something I don't cover. So with regard to hydrodynamics, the tidal range is fairly insignificant, equating to less than an inch for Redfish Bay, and generally less than a half inch for all the other bays in our ecosystem. As you can see here, this is, well, you might not be able to see it very well, but this is a red over blue. And because you can't see the distinction in the blue line, that means that there's not much change from what is current with regard to how the tide will be affected with the deepening of the channel. Sorry. Okay. Salinity was also modeled, and so early results show that it's within the tolerances allowed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for the different species that live within our ecosystem. And so the average salinity range, the difference is less than half a part per thousand. And the maximum salinity range is just over half a part per thousand. So with regards to the biological assessment, the project is going to be within the confines of the 54-foot channel, so there will not be impacts to wetlands, seagrasses, or oysters, simply because there are those things within the existing ship channel. It's continually dredged, it's too deep for that kind of habitat, and so we won't experience it on the 75-foot project either. The project's being designed so that there aren't those type of impacts. Some of the wetland areas and seagrasses that are identified as being impacted are areas where material is going to be placed for beneficial use. And there are areas that are not high quality right now, but through the process of placing the material and restoring the area, we will create way more than was impacted by placement of the material. And then studies have shown with dredging, this is not anything new, that sediment suspended during dredging and material placement is localized and it dissipates quickly, and there won't be significant issues with light attenuation such that seagrasses, existing seagrasses, would now not be allowed to continue to grow and be healthy. So that sediment, that turbidity is created during placement. And then we've also done extensive tests testing on the dredge material, and most recently have done testing for the 54-foot project and confirmed that there is no contamination of material that's being dredged. And then also studies indicate the recovery of the fauna and the benthos from pre-placement positions to after the material is placed. Within a year of the dredging operations becomes healthy and living again. Moving on, I'm going to talk about desalination. There is not a whole lot to update here. So we were out here for a public meeting that was hosted by the TCEQ in April of this year. The Port of Corpus Christi is seeking a discharge permit for a 50 MGD facility at our Harbor Island property. The permit is still underway. We have not been issued a permit. Where we're currently at is the TCEQ has prepared response to all the public comments that were received and posted them on their webpage. And they did that July 9th. And so there is information out there. If you haven't seen those yet, it's available on the TCEQ webpage. And then additionally, we are working on a cumulative modeling study with UTMSI. That study is wrapping up, and the study is showing that there are not additional impacts. The biggest concern was that with the desal discharge, that it would create a saltwater lens on the bottom of the ship channel. That study is showing that the movement of tides within that area, the water movement in conjunction with the diffuser technology that we're proposing, there will not be that saltwater lens, and there will not be the contribution over time of salinity such that it would create intolerance of salinity for species. Our technology that, again, we're using is the diffuser, which has jets on it to provide really good mixing of that brine back into the system as it's discharged. And then, as we previously said, we are taking the intake structure offshore. With the data just wasn't there to show that the best available technology for intake structures would eliminate or mitigate that potential for impacts to the larvae that are migrating through this area. And so we made a decision early on to take that offshore. Again, just as a reminder, this is explaining what is the range for the discharge, 48 parts per thousand, and the technology within 400 feet of the diffuser dissipates it to one part per thousand above background. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Schwartz.
Okay, well, I want to thank again the members of the staff here who have presented this. Look, I'm not a biologist. I'm not a scientist. I'm a finance guy. I'm an accountant by education. I heard a lot of things that I'm sure we've got the data to back it up. I'm sure we've got scientists in the audience, but we also just have concerned members of the community. And I want to just make sure that, again, we're here as members of the community ourselves. And there is, as I said, a lot of misinformation that's out there. We're not here to try and change your heart or your mind. We're trying to give you information. And I think that what we've shared with you thus far, we've got all the detail that you can dig in. If you didn't hear enough tonight, I assure you, we've got all the supporting detail. We're engaging the University of Texas Marine Science Institute to help us with the science. We're engaging the Harbor Research Institute to help us with the science. We're engaging the Conrad Lucher Institute to help us from a safety and navigation standpoint. We're engaging other agencies. Certainly our relationship with TCQ, the EPA, the Corps of Engineers. This is not a Sean Strawberry's project. It's not a Port of Corpus Christi project. This is a project for the entire community, because we are seeing a big paradigm shift. Many of you are fortunate enough to either be second homeowners or to retire here in this wonderful community here. Many of you made your living in the energy industry. If you were in the energy industry, you know that safety is absolutely the utmost importance. And as you heard, our Seaport values. Seaport is an acronym, and the S in Seaport stands for safety. It's always our first priority. It's a value actually. That's why we call it our Seaport value. Why? The priorities can change, but values never change. And we've been extremely forthright about our values here. You know, I don't want to talk. I'm standing up here. I want to talk down here with you all. So, as we get into the question and answer, I just want to set the rules of engagement. There's a lot of them. A lot of them have questions. So what we're going to do is, we're going to do this in a civilized, orderly fashion. Anybody who has a question, raise your hand. We're going to have a couple of people with microphones. They'll come, they'll let you voice your question, and then we'll move on to the next person. If we have gotten to a point where there are no more questions, and you have additional questions, we'll certainly come back to it. But because there's so many people here, we want to give everybody an opportunity to ask their question. Again, if you have a statement, we're certainly, I know this meeting is probably being recorded by quite a few folks. I think our guys are recording it as well. If there's a statement that you want to levy, certainly we're not going to discourage you from making your statement, but I will tell you that this is not a formal public agency meeting. We are a public agency, but this is not a formal public agency meeting. So if you want your statement to be on formal record, I would encourage you to come to the Port's Commission meeting. The next one is actually next Tuesday at it's at 8:30, because we've got a pilot meeting ahead of time. Before the end of this meeting, we're going to validate that. They said we make sure we have folks to start taking it. Certainly it's next Tuesday. And it's every third Tuesday of the month. And there is a public comment where anybody can come, anybody can sign in, and anybody can levy their what they want to say. It's not a public comment, you know, it's not a Q&A there. It's there for you to share your statements, your ideas, your concerns. But they do become a matter of public record. So we certainly want to encourage you to do that if there's something you want to say that's on public record. So with that, why don't we just start right here in the front? Eddie, if you can.
I'm Tabby McAllister, and I've been here since 1945. It seems to me, I'm going to ask you a question, but it seems to me like over in Body of Christ, about every 20 years, they drop something in the water. And it makes them want to come over here every generation and do something bad to Port Aransas. We have Deepport, we have Safeport, now we have this monstrosity. Now, my question is, why can't you all simply agree to use a monobuoy instead of tearing up all this land?
I've been in the maritime industry for 30 years. The private movement in the maritime industry is at a dock in safe harbor. It's not in open water. If it was in open water, everybody would do it. Okay?
Everybody is doing it.
So there are monopolies in this country. When you go to open water, there's a couple things that you have to think about from both an economic standpoint and safety and risk standpoint. In the event of an incident, let's start with safety and risk first. In the event of an incident in open water, it's going to be much more difficult to respond to that. We know with 100% certainty that conveyance of goods in open water, which is what's happening today, reverse lightering, the ships can't fully load here, so they've got to go out to open water, and then shuttles, smaller ships will go out there and transfer the remaining product to them in open water. in open water, they're venting their volatile organic compounds. You cannot do that in the state of Texas. In state waters and on state lands, you cannot vent your VOCs just openly. You have to sequester them and you have to combust them. But in the federal waters, you can do that. And that's what's happening right now. So it's a known environmental impact. A known environmental impact today. By having a deeper channel, we can reduce those shuttles, which reduce the emissions, certainly emissions not only from the VOCs, but certainly from the vessels themselves, because the vessels themselves do have their mobile source of emissions, and I'm happy to report that. So when you say, what about you? We're here again to give you information because we do care. We are members of this community. The thing is what we're having is, again, we're just sharing with you the information that we have. And as I said, I've been in this business for 30 years. 30 years. There is no crude oil monobuoy in the United States today. Loop is not a monobuoy. Loop is a platform. There is no crude monobuoy in operation in the United States today. But if we are going to do something, and we partner with P66, who by the way came to us and said, hey, we want to work with the port. When you look at all these monobuoys that have been announced, there's only one that came to a government agency and said, we want to work with it. And that's P66. And so there are 4 reasons why we like that. I know Jeff mentioned it, but I'm going to reiterate. One is P66 has been operating a monobuoy in the UK since 1971. So they have experience in doing that. 2, we like their location better than the alternate monobuoy that was announced going down around the Port Authority, around this community, down in Clayburgh County, out the National Seashore, one of the last untouched coastal seashores in this country, 13 miles offshore, okay? They did that because they've never operated before, and it's about the economics for them. They didn't want the oversight, okay? So we like the location. By the way, that location potentially blows those volatile organic compounds back into this ocean. And their application, by the way, their application has 2 times the VOCs that are emitted in Clayburgh, Nueces, San Patricio, and Aransas counties annually combined. 2 times. 2 times the VOCs. Why? Because here in this state, you cannot vent those VOCs. You can't. You have to sequester them. All right? You have to combust them. Okay, so we like the location better. It's further out and it's further north. So it doesn't necessarily threaten our ocean. 3, we like the economics that are working with the Port Authority. And working with the Port Authority, we generate revenue. We've got tax authority. We've had tax authority for 93 years. We've never exercised it. We're the only public port authority in the state to never exercise its tax authority. Why? Because we operate as a business. But unlike private business, private industry, we don't have shareholders that we send profits to. You know who our shareholders are? All of you. All of you are our shareholders.
I didn't get my check this week.
I spend my time focusing on capital placement in 4 areas. One is, of course, infrastructure and economic development, job creation. That's our primary function here. 2, environmental programs. No single agency has spent more money and done more for the ecosystem than this institution, according to this history. 3, we're going to have plenty of time, folks. We're going to have plenty of time. 3, we like, we like the actor, we like the location, we like the economics, and 4, we like the oversight. Okay? So that's why we decided, so we are supporting the move, all right? But we are also supporting the safe harbor project as well. Yes, ma'am. This way right here.
My name is John.
Okay.
My name is My name is Dino Fabian. I've been here for almost 20 years now, and my question is, if you are supporting the Phillips 66 project, why do we have to have both of these? Why can't everything be done just out of that terminal out offshore? Is that like the
do we know that? Because when you look at the pipelines that have not been announced, but there's steel going in the ground today that is pointed our way. That's what gives us the certainty as to how much capacity we need to develop. And you've got 4 pipelines that have been announced now. So Jeff talked about one, that's certainly a new paradigm for shift for us. Today, we're what I would call the 2-trick pony, or actually 2 large forces. Over half of all U.S. oil production is from Texas, over half. Eagle Ford and Permian. And Permian, of course, is the largest by far. But when you look at the other production stats, the fact that we are now going to have connectivity to Cushing is going to bring those additional grades down here. When you add all those incremental pipeline capacities and you look at the subscription rates that they've been able to attain from the market, it is a high degree of certainty that those barrels are coming in. And we don't have the capacity today to handle all those incremental barrels. We don't. Houston will not be able to go deep. They're not a coastal city. This is the most populated coastal community in the state of Texas, South Texas coastal community, which is why we have such a robust workforce. And we've got a deeper draft channel. This is why the energy companies want to come here. Houston has congestion. Houston's going to have a draft problem. They would need to go another 40 miles out, and they'd have to relocate 400 pipelines. The amount of pipelines that we have to remove or relocate combined here for this project is 40 pipelines. Folks, this is progress. This is absolutely progress in the city.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Colombo-Bassi. I live here. I'm a proud resident. Dr. Greg Spence recently presented scientific findings that clearly indicate that Harbor Island represents an incompatible location for industrial development. With the port's stated commitment to environmental stewardship, why would you believe that a VLCC terminal in direct proximity to the Redfish-based state scientific area, which is characterized as an ecological hotspot, would represent the best practice ecological self-decision?
So I'm familiar with Dr. Stuntz' comments. I have not seen his study that would lead him to conclude that. I don't know that he's representing the Harvard Research Institute in that statement, or if he's just representing his own opinion. That would certainly need to be a clarifying question. Harbor Island was a, can we bring up the next slide? Harbor Island was a oil terminal for nearly 7 years. In fact, in the 30s, it was the largest oil terminal in the world. Okay? This picture's in 1929. You can see 7 tanks up there. Okay? Harbor Island was an oil terminal for decades. The fishing industry grew and thrived. It was not negatively impacted, even though, to Sarah's point earlier, regulation and technologies and processes were not what they are today. They were significantly worse than they are today. When you do Google Earth or you look at the history, you look at how crude was stored in open pits, plain-lined open pits, and they thought that was best practices back then. Those days are long gone. Okay? So there is a history of industry in this community coexisting. But we're not going to do it willy-nilly. We are going to do it in a responsible way. There is going to be all the safeties and the precautions and the redundancies and the technologies that are going to be in place to ensure that this community continues to thrive, that both tourism, fishing, quality of life, and industry can coexist. And there are plenty of examples of that around the country and around the world. And we're going to visit more. I'm going to be meeting with 2 of my commissioners first week of September, and I'm going to what I would call the California Bureau. I'm going to the Netherlands to look at a VLCC terminal there, to talk to the community there, to talk to the leaders there, to see what are their best practices. Because we are going to benchmark. We're not going to do this at time. I spent some time in California. I'm a Californian by birth. I'm a Texan by choice. And I will tell you, California has today an operating VLCC terminal with 760 of man-made channel. So who's next? You asked why Greg started to say that. I answered the question. I haven't seen his report. I know you.
No, she asked you, why do you think it's a good idea to put that in the middle of Redfish Bay?
Hey, sir,
It's one of the most
hold
private
on. Let's just not.
That's not what you
If you have a
asked.
question, raise your hand. That's great. Look, folks, this isn't a one-man crusade. I'm here doing my job as our fine people in Hackney, okay? We're here to provide you with information. We're not here to be yelled at. We're not here to be verbally abused. We're here to provide you with information. Okay? So,
What are we
next.
supposed to do if we can't raise our voice?
You can raise your hand first. If you raise your hand, then you can raise your voice.
Okay, Mr. Strawberry, I have a question here. Actually, I have a clarification. Thank you for all that you have presented. Thank you for the snacks as well. I have listened to you on Beverly Bowler, Port Aransas City Council. I'm speaking on behalf of all of the men and women who have written into my inbox, and I have thousands for you here to read through at your pleasure. I just want to clarify that on Lago and in the newspapers, you have said that this is a very small entity of people that really care about this project. And I don't want you to embarrass yourself any further. This is as big as when you talk about second homeowners, you betcha. There are thousands of second homeowners who love this place, who have been coming here for 3 generations. I know you're not a Texan, but it makes a big, big difference in the hearts and minds of those of us that are here. So from now on, I don't really want to hear you say that there's just this little group of people that are making noise, because that is in fact a lie.
Thank you. Just gave them all the signatures. Thanks, Bev. Happy birthday, Bev.
So thank you, Council Lady. I appreciate your comments. I think, again, my comments are being taken out of context, which is... First of all, it's very clear to me that Texans don't like the word small. My reference to there is a small but local constituency is not to in any way demean or belittle or undermine what you guys, what those of you who are in that group are trying to say. It is, there are thousands of men and women who depend, their jobs and their livelihoods depend on the oil and gas industry. And this country has a marvelous opportunity to be the world's largest, not only energy producer, but energy exporter, which helps create more jobs, which helps create more livelihoods, which then improves the quality of life, by reducing poverty, we reduce the strain on the healthcare system, we reduce the strain on So we have to understand that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people whose livelihoods will depend on these developments.
Right, there's options.
Listen,
There's options.
It's going to devolve into a shouting match. If it does, we're going to walk out. So can you please show a level of decorum? I submit to you, we will get to it, okay? We will get to it. Yes, sir.
I'm Dr. Rick Tindon. I've lived here for 45 years. I retired from the University of Texas Marine Science Institute after 36.5 years. I've seen Jeff talk, I've heard her talk. My question to you is, after all the talking, I've seen nothing in here from the Port Aransas that addresses the economic, the aesthetic, the quality of life for those of us who live in this community.
So again, we'll talk about quality of life. Folks, there are plenty of studies that show that poverty has a strain on our system. So creating more jobs, creating more livelihood, creating more economic prosperity is good for this community. That's a lot. So, are we only going to talk about Port Aransas, or are we going to talk about the entire community? So, understand that
Harbor Island's in Port Aransas.
The thing that's really concerning to me is that the port, again, it's been here for 93 years, and we seem to think that we have a will to damage this community. Furthest to the truth. I live in Port Aransas.
Right now.
Go ahead.
Hello? Yeah, I'm Dr. Richard Watson. I have been here pretty much all the time since 1966, and I've spent over 50 years studying the Texas coast, including coastal engineering and coastal geology and studying passes. However, what I want to talk about a little bit, I also have 100,000 miles at sea. I've been an offshore oil field boat captain. I've adjusted compasses on over 1,000 ships and large commercial vessels, including Navy ships. So I understand navigational safety pretty well. I was actually on the ferry this morning when on my motorcycle when I heard the emergency signal, but normally they just blow 5 quick blasts to let you know that there's a problem. Well, he never quit with the quick blasts, and to me that said, somebody better get out of the way or they're going to die. Because that's what it really means. And that ship came on, an LNG ship at that, probably was going too fast, but I really don't know. It was going 11 to 12 knots according to its track on the ship tracker. But he came around the corner too tight at Klein's Landing, and the next thing he knew, he was headed about for Roberts Point Park, and then the ferry that I was on, so we all got off of the ferry, and he didn't hit it, but it was pretty doggone close. And he had 2 or 3 tugs assisting him. So that's a much smaller ship than a VLCC. What I really don't understand, since you like the offshore monobuoys, as long as it's coming through your property, they're safe there. What I don't understand is why build a deep ship channel and bring those unwieldy vessels in where they have to stay in a 12 or 13 mile channel with cross currents, rather than have them pull up to an offshore mountain buoy, or perhaps one supported by an offshore platform like the loop one that you mentioned, where they're only maneuvering in water, where they can maneuver in every direction, where they can anchor if they have a power failure. They only have one engine, and where there's way less risk of colliding with another vessel. And of course, that would also eliminate the need for offshore lightering, which I thought was pretty dangerous for a long time. I was delivering a vessel further up the coast, maybe it was out in Mobile, I don't remember, and we passed by a ship lightering offshore, and that super tanker looked so big that the ships tied up alongside of it looked like shrimp boats. So why not just keep them offshore? Or is it just because that's the only way the port and the Nueces County can get a whole lot of money, because you won't get as much money? It's going to cost a whole heck of a lot less to put pipelines offshore than it is to dig and maintain a 75-foot channel. Isn't that correct?
I think I've already answered the question as to why onshore versus offshore. I'll take one more stab at it, and then hopefully we can answer some other questions for you. Again, the availability and the higher risk offshore versus onshore make onshore operations much more environmentally friendly, much more safe. Okay? If you're offshore and something happens, it is going to be much harder to contain it and much harder to respond to it. It's that simple, folks. Yes.
Jane from Ingleside. I have a 2-part question for you. I was wanting to know the timeline of the entire project, including Ingleside, and when the project is complete, can you estimate the number of ships that will be coming through in and out of the area per day?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jane. So two things. One, It's tough to estimate the number of ships because ship vessel technology is evolving. As a gentleman who's been in the maritime industry, I think since 1966, look, that's what the real paradigm shift is. When I started this business in 1990, in Texas, by the way, this is not my first tour in Texas. I spent more time in Texas in the last 30 years than California. When I started this business, vessels were a fourth of the size that they are today. So single screw technology, single propeller, single shaft technology has evolved. That's why the Suez Canal has had to improve. That's why the Panama Canal has had to improve. And that's why the ports of Corpus Christi and other ports around the country are having to go through improving their infrastructure to be able to handle these larger ships safely, fluidly, and certainly economically. When it comes to the number of ships, we can only estimate based on the volumes. The workhorse, VLCC is what everybody's talking about. Okay, and then there's a lot of this discussion about, oh, VLCC is big, so it must be higher risk. That's like saying that a 777, Boeing 777, because it's bigger and carries more people, has a higher degree of risk and a worse safety record than a 737. That's statistically incorrect. It's inaccurate. There is no difference between a VLCC, a Suezmax, a Panamax, and an Aframax, other than it's a bigger ship. The processes are exactly the same. And I will tell you, over the last 10 years, more than the last 10 years, from 2008 to this year, we've shipped over 2.6 billion barrels of crude oil. And you know how much has been reportedly spilled into Corpus Christi ship channel in that same period? 1,036 barrels. That's 395 million of 1%. Okay? It is such an infinitesimal amount. Why? Because industry and technology and government and regulations and process all have been designed to keep Texas oil out of Texas water. And we're absolutely committed to that.
How many ships?
Timeline and the number of ships.
So the timeline for the project, the timeline for the project is 4 years. Total timeline for the project is 4 years. The current DP requirement. The 76 feet, that's a permitting process right now. That'll likely take 24 months. In terms of the economics, right now, the port does not see the economic viability of itself alone funding that project. So it would be to find structure some sort of public-private partnership or some sort of private funds, probably from industry, to be able to contribute to that. And that's what's happening in this day and age is government is allocating less and less money to these projects, which means industry is having to step up and contribute some of their dollars. It wouldn't surprise me to see something like that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Rafael Lamoral. I'm a resident of Port Aransas. Some of my background was with commercial insurance, and I just like to speak up for some of the Houston oil companies we're talking about. Read Bloomberg, right? That's the industry, right? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you know this is going to be, you can verify this. Kinder Morgan has announced that they're going offshore. You heard that, right?
Actually, my understanding is that Kinder has pulled out of their offshore buoy. The offshore buoys over there are Enterprise, Enbridge, with Marathon, and these are the kind of the more recognizable names. And I think most recently, Energy Transfer Partners, the owners of Stripes, have announced that they buoy off of Needham. Those are the more well-known. There's certainly some others that many of you probably would recognize the names Jupiter, Sentinel, but the most recognizable ones are Enterprise, Enbridge, and Energy Transfer.
Okay, well, we can stipulate that Kinder Morgan doesn't exist as a company, right?
Kinder Morgan, I know Steve Kane very well. He's a fine fellow, and he does a great job running that company.
Okay. And they can control about 60% of the pipeline depending on the permitting phase of things like that.
Sorry to say it wasn't.
Okay, moving on. Many companies, oil companies, are going to be offshore as their model in the future. You're saying that that's not what's happening here, there's nothing here. That's where the future is, because there's no risk. Because when you're running these commodities, you have to get insurance, risk insurance, reinsurance for excessive catastrophes. And a lot of insurance companies don't want their risk to go into these harbors because it's getting more expensive than the commodity. So it seems to me that you're doing a technology which is antiquated. So I think that's this tool for Texas. Once you go close, it's a mess. It's not like when we ranch and oil has a leak, you loosen the ski, the ground, you can fix that. But a little close here, it isn't like we can make this better. And it seems very arrogant, very condescending how the board treats Port A. And you underestimate the people. Why do you do the EIS? Is this, she was saying all these terminologies. Those are the expedited, you want to rush this through. You're in this race to get this thing done.
Actually, the EIS is a much longer process than just an environmental assessment. So,
Thank you, sir.
if I can answer your question, why is industry going on? I assure you it's not because it's insurance coverage, with all due respect. It is because the Army Corps of Engineers has more projects than it has resources to execute on. And industry will find path of least resistance. And the first to announce it was Traffic Bureau, give them an A for creativity. They dusted off an arcane federal statute enacted in 1974, the Deepwater Port Act. It was enacted at another time for another purpose. That was after the Arab-Israeli War of 1973 that the U.S. backed the Israelis. There was an embargo. As a result of that, you saw that act in 1975. Gerald Ford banned the exportation of U.S. crude oil. That ban was in place for 4 years. It was lifted in December of 15. The first port to export crude oil out of this country in 40 years was the Port of Corpus Christi. And you see that paradigm shift. It is not because of insurance, it's because the infrastructure is not sufficient to handle the types of vessels that the global markets demand.
Hi, I'm Barbara. I'm from Ingleside, and my question is regarding what's happening around Ingleside, and it's regarding the Phillips 66. I heard that one project was going to be manned and one was unmanned. Can you explain the difference?
Sorry, ma'am, I'm having, because I'm on the wrong side of 15, my hearing is going. What was the question? Annie, what was your question?
Phillips 66, manned versus unmanned. The buoy. Manned buoy versus the unmanned buoy.
Oh, manned buoy versus an unmanned buoy. Okay, that's it. I don't know exactly what the concept of operations is. It's my understanding that they are not manned 24/7. When there's a vessel that shows up, they'll send a crew out there to actually hook it up with the vessel crew. I'm also going to be in the UK visiting their buoy next month as well. We've been talking to the locals and finding out, what are the positives, what are the negatives. I mean, we want to learn more about these buoys as well. But I don't think they're manned 24/7. They're only manned when the vessels arrive. There'll be a crew that will be on a smaller vessel that will then transfer the hoses, transfer the hoses up to the vessel. And by the way, when the vessels load, you see those load yards on the top, they actually load from the bottom to make sure that there is not additional vapors that are caused by the operating from the top. So they actually load it for everything. It's like filling up your swimming pool by putting your bathtub by putting the hose under the water there. That's to create a more level filling. That's how the vessels are loaded today. That's how they're configured. And they're all double hull, by the way. And they have multiple holes as well, so they can hold multiple grades, multiple.
I'm here in Port Aransas, and we've been here since probably I was 5 years old. It was my second home in Port A. I love Port A. I'm one of the second homeowners they talk about. And we invest heavily in our recreation here. We love fishing and being outside. So one of the things I want to tell you is that my great-grandfather helped start the Port of Corpus Christi. He was on the commission for 42 years. And you know why Harbor Island never thrived? Hurricanes. They abandoned Harbor Island. So go to the archives and look at that. It's a bad idea, it's a bad location, and it's no surprise. But I have so many thoughts here I want to say, but the most meaningful one is it's really not appropriate to use these words like engaged the University of Texas, engaged the Hart Institute, That's BS. I talk to these scientists, they're not on board with what you're doing. The science you're doing is not complete. You probably need about 5 years of good, solid baseline science to be to understand the impacts that might occur with the plans that you have. So slow down, study longer, learn, listen, and you know, and in your remarks and responses, you know, these people here care. You know, we live here, we recreate here. Walk away from here with the thoughts of what you're doing to our backyard. Thank you.
My name is Chris Collins. I live and work in Port Aransas. I run several businesses here and I'm raising my family here. You keep saying that the VLCC terminal inside the jetties is safer than the terminal 13 miles offshore. And you have some questionable facts to back that up, but here's the big difference to me. My family lives 3,000 feet from the VLCC terminal. If there's an accident there, it's 3,000 feet from my front door. Whereas if there's an accident offshore, it's 13 miles away. So don't BS and say that it's safer 3,000 feet from my house. The second question is, would you raise your family 3,000 feet from the VLCC terminal?
So I have one question. Would I raise my family? Was there another question? I want to check the entire question.
How do you explain it being safer?
So we've already talked about onshore versus offshore. Would I raise my family there? I absolutely would. And the interesting thing is, it's a federal ship channel that's existed for 93 years. And by the way, we had 5 VLCCs that sailed by Port Aransas last month. I didn't get any phone calls. We operate these terminals today in Ingleside, in the Inner Harbor. There's industrial operations that are going on in Harbor Island today, like Gulf Copper and Water Midstream. There are 3 semi-submersible rigs that have been sitting there for 2 years. Okay? There are industrial operations going on in Port Aransas today. It's a federal ship channel. When you buy a home on a federal ship channel, you can expect that there's going to be ships that are going to go by your home.
My name is Bill Snell. I'm a retired teacher that lives here in Port Aransas. I taught marine science. I also taught tourism and hospitality. The job flag was waved by the port. I know there's billions of dollars promised only for a certain time of years. Do you know how many dollars are spent in the entire area on tourism for, fishing and beach, everything like that, yearly,
I don't. I'm sure it's a tremendous. And I know that we've got a representative that sits on the Convention of Visitors Bureau. And it is not a either-or conversation. I mean, we're already seeing $52 billion of private industrial investment going on in and around the Corpus Christi ship channel in places like Gregory and Portland and Corpus Christi and the counties and Port Aransas. We're already seeing that today. Okay? This is progress for the community. I understand the homeostasis thinking of it. Change is hard. Okay? But what I'm trying to advocate for is without the port, because I assure you, that Gulf Copper operation is not, that's not port land. It has nothing to do with making money. It has everything to do with, folks, can we go on for 1 second? Has anybody read our consolidated annual financial report? Has anybody read it? It's on our website. The consolidated annual financial report, it's our audited financials. You will see how much money we spend in environmental, in education and workforce development, in social programs. We supported over 130 regional charities in this community. The money that the port earns stays here in the coastal bend. It goes right back into improving the quality of life of this community, whether it's the business community, the environmental community, academic community, or just community at large. Okay? And a good example of that is the $250,000 that the port committed to the county to build the observation center. No questions asked, the judge came to us and said, we need some help, because otherwise they'd have to pay back $750,000 to the feds.
They screwed up.
So I'm sharing with you, that's what happens with this money. I don't make any more money. These some people don't make any more money. It goes right back here to the community. Trafficker, it goes, those profits, they're repatriating the switch, and they go to whoever their shareholders are. You don't know because it's a private company behind the whole big service. Is that what you think is good for this community?
What's a car load? I don't think so. What's a car load? One at a time, sir.
I think the question was concerned about the impact of recreational vessels and traffic in the area. It's an important area with three channels coming together. Other than Corpus, it has some property from the Sun Lake or the water lot. Harbor Island, the VLCC is right across from the marina. Those channels come together. It seems like we're going to have some kind of safety zone. And then also worry about maybe in the future some safety zone in the Quinta. And also coming to the jetties. And with the increases in the LNG tankers and other traffic, I worry that someday we'll end up like Morgan City with vertical traffic or Galveston, we have to check in with a green traffic controller, especially because recreational boating is such a critical area.
So first of all, I share your concern. I share your concern about vessel traffic, which is why we're spending a tremendous amount of money analyzing the forecast. We've gone to industry, we've gone and looked at trends in recreational watercraft. Remember, it's a federal navigable waterway, so it is for the benefit of everybody. And it is governed by, the safety is governed by the Coast Guard. So the LNG ship that had the potential near miss today, which by the way, we are going to investigate that. As we do all collisions and near misses, we are going to investigate that.
I would hope so.
But it's the Coast Guard that regulates the navigable waterway. Okay? It's not a port authority, it's the Coast Guard. We work with the Coast Guard, and we have a harbor master that employs the communications center to be able to help in that traffic control, that traffic flow. But I'll give you a good example. That vessel, that LNG vessel that came by today, the Coast Guard has mandated a 500-yard safety zone, 500 yards. Now, that restricted zone there, you can pass through it if you get approval from the Coast Guard while you're traversing. So it's not that you can't get close, but you have to ask for approval ahead of time. That's a Coast Guard regulation. That's not a port regulation. So we have to also abide by the rules of the road, if you will, that are established by, certainly by the Coast Guard.
Hi, my name is Gail, and nobody's talking about smell and noise. Can you guarantee there's not going to be some nasty odor when you're pulling and you do burn off and that kind of stuff?
No.
Roberts Point Park is one of our best assets, and it's going to be a real shame if people can't go over there because some stink coming off the harbor island.
Because it's, once the hoses are hooked up, it's transfer of product in the closed loop system. Like
Those ships sit 24 hours, and they're going to be doing work in Harbor Island. So you're telling me for 24 hours, those ships aren't going to be running motors and there's going to be noise?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So what we're exploring right now is we're exploring having the vessels shut off their auxiliary power units and plug into shore power. Here's the challenge with that. These are not liner services like you have with cruise ships or you have with container ships where you know what ships are being employed in port, like the ports of Los Angeles, Long Beach, New York, the big container ports. So you have a high degree of certainty of what ports are being employed, and then you can require what we call cold ironing, where they plug in the shore power and they shut off their auxiliary units. Because we don't have that liner service here, that makes it much harder. So the things that we're exploring right now are, there's going to be ultra low sulfur diesel or 0.5% sulfur content that's going to be required. That's required by the Coast Guard and by the IMO, the International Maritime Organization. That goes into effect January 1 of 2020. The other is we're looking at, as part of our technology advancement program, funding a pilot program for what is essentially a catalytic converter that sits on a barge. So while the vessel is at the dock, we hook the hoses up to the stack and we capture all of those emissions while the vessel is there at the dock. That's the kinds of things that we are absolutely committed to doing to ensure that there are minimal impacts. Minimal impacts. One question at a time. We'll certainly come back to you.
My name's Paul. I have a question. So there seems to be a lot of competition and a race, if you will, amongst various locations, two within the Port of Christie, and probably a dozen entities trying to get PLCC capability to handle this wall of oil that you mentioned for export to Asia. Now, Asia, obviously, the biggest importer there is going to be China, and you don't have to look too far in the newspaper to find out we're not getting along with them too well right now. So what if that export market dries up, and then what are we stuck with?
Yep. So as it relates to geopolitical relationships, I can only speculate in my opinion. Certainly the Chinese are not a big consumer of U.S. crude oil today. We're seeing more interest from India, and from a policy standpoint, this administration is working to really reinforce that relationship with India. So much so that there was an announcement today by the Saudis to invest in a big Indian refinery because they see the United States as competition. At the end of the day, the geopolitical landscape is shifting away from Middle Eastern source oil, certainly away from Asian source oil, I talked about that in Russia, and more towards Western produced oil like the United States. Because in the absence of draconian trade sanctions, like we see today with Venezuela or with Iran, you can get an American barrel on the open market, and it's not being controlled by a cartel or a despot like OPEC or like Russia. And I think that's attractive for any sovereignty, and most sovereignties do need energy, to participate in that. What the last 3 or 4 years since the crude export ban was repealed in December 2015, so the last 3 years has really been about kicking the tires on American crude. Is the quality the same? Is the spec the same? Is the availability the same? They don't want to switch from one feedstock that they've been on for decades to another without kicking the tires. We're starting because we've got good consistency, good regularity, and our ability to deliver that. We're starting to see that ramp up. Now, as it relates to China, all I can hope for is trade sanctions are never good for ports. Is that this little tete-a-tete that's worked out. I think the Chinese, I think the Chinese need the American consumer, the American economy more than we need the Chinese. And so I think ultimately they will work it out. But certainly that remains to be seen. Who's the participant?
Hi, I'm Judy. I live in Port Aransas, and I actually have a question about police element.
Yes, sir.
I worked in water planning in the state of Texas for many years, and I do understand the water shortage we're facing in the state. But my question is, wouldn't it be better to err on the side of caution and put your discharge out to sea the same way you're doing your intake?
Yes.
Again, to remind you, I'm not a scientist of the family. So all I can tell you from my state school education is all of the science from the smart people who have come up with the science indicate that the impacts for the discharge are minimal. When you look at the ambient within 200 feet of the discharge, because of that hydrology, that confluence of all those water tributaries, coupled with the volume of water relative to what we're introducing back into the channel, coupled with the dilution rate that we're introducing the brine back in, it's virtually non-existent. So obviously, by the way, I want to be very, very clear. It's not that we're not listening to you. We are listening to you, and we will make adjustments where we can, and where we need to. And here's a good example of that. We had the intake out on the back of Redfish Bay originally, And we have this chart right here in the ship chart. And folks from UTMSI and HRI said, hey, we've got some concern with larval fish being sucked into that intake. Well, we couldn't confirm it and we couldn't refute it. The data just wasn't there. There wasn't enough data. In that particular case, we said, you know what? It's not worth it. We're going to take that offshore. We listened to you and we took the intake offshore to just get rid of that whole risk. We have the data for the discharge. We have the data. And the data supports the placement of the discharge. But we did listen to you and we made an observation.
Hello. Okay. My name is Tammy King, and the Port of Corpus Christi is authorized to facilitate commerce up and down the ship channel. Okay. We have Flint Resources, we have Motor Industry, we have Buckeye Partners. All of these industry long-term partners with this area in Texas. Okay. They have been waiting for the 54-foot dredge all of these years. They've designed their business models on this 54-foot dredge and lightering offshore, which has not had one problem in all of these years. With the current capacity that they have and their projected increase in their capacity, you just drive down to Ingleside and you will see there's 6 tanks each are going to 12 or 13 tanks each. We're going to have millions and millions of gallons of oil in Ingleside and in the Inner Harbor. When we dredge the ship channel to 75 feet to provide a venture capital group who are not industry people to help make money for a gold rush type of facility. And Texans do not like government running their businesses. We want a real market competition between oil and gas industry, who have provided the jobs all of these years, rather than you, the Port of Corpus Christi, picking winners and losers. And once that 75-foot dredge is there, those people upstream in 54-foot dredge, their business models don't work. When the oil and gas dries up, when supply and demand go down, this place gets the winners, they don't. And they were going to sell it off in an IPO, make billions of dollars, and leave our industry out. Texans don't like business telling them what to do, or government entities telling them what to do.
I currently sit on the board of Airport Channel, and although we're no longer responsible for the airport, we're very responsible for Piper Channel and the mouth of Piper Channel. And my question to you, Sean, is, what do you, and you too, Sarah, because you talked a bit about this, and it's based on your second phase, which we haven't heard a lot about. Where do you intend to put the spoil, number one? Number two, if we sealed up, are you going to partner with us in helping us get that back to how it was? Because I know that when 15 years ago, the ships got bigger, the traffic increased, we were left holding the bag and you did not partner with us.
I'll ask Sarah to answer the first part of that question.
A couple of questions.
Can you hear me? So Dan actually mentioned it in one of his slides, and we can bring it back up, the dredge material placement areas. There's a number of different locations that we are looking at placing material. There are several hardening projects that need significant quantities of material, and so we'll be providing the material there as well as rehabbing those locations. There is also offshore placement. There's an offshore placement area that's approved. And then the other interior locations, which are additional beneficial use
And then, and I'm sorry, the second
Why
organization.
are you going to partner with us? Because my concern is we have to be more
For us to do more, we have to develop more to create the annuities, the revenue annuities, and then we can reinvest into the community and some of those other things. Right now, the big demand on our capital is to develop these facilities, but we're not doing that without ensuring that we've got that annuity. So when we talk about a private equity firm like Carlisle, why do we pick Carlisle? Number one, they're American. Number two, they've got the wherewithal. Number three, they were the ones that said, we want this done in a very sustainable, responsible way. They've got a history of doing that in some other areas of it. Okay? I think you'll be pleased with who they have selected to actually operate the facility. I can't because it's those ongoing negotiations between those two. But once those are finalized and they can make that announcement, we'll make sure that they come here and they talk about the operations that they do all over the world in some really, really eco-sensitive venues. We're going to make sure this is not even the last time we're going to run it, folks. We're going to run it. At the end of the day, for me, when I look at capital placements, I spend my time in three areas: capital placement, how we spend our money; organizational alignment and culture, making sure that we've got good people and that these fine people have all that they need to do their jobs; and then execution. We've got to be able to execute as flawlessly as we can. That means that when we look at the amount of money that we're spending, remember that last piece where I said the community? You're the community. And if that means that we've got extra dollars to reinvest in this community for things like shoreline, or the water line has to be relocated. But remember this, we have a financial responsibility to also not only develop the channel, but maintain the channel. Even though the federal government, through the Army Corps of Engineers, does the work, they don't pay for it. Guess who pays for it? We pay for 50% of it. Well, you say we should. Absolutely, we should. But there's two ways we can do it. We can generate more revenues from our customers and make sure that we're generating enough cash flow to be able to do that, or we can tax and fine. I don't know about you, but I'd rather do the former than the latter. Yes, sir. And then patient.
Phil Barnett out of here in Port Aransas. My question is, you're going to flare, you're going to let recovery if you get your terminal bill, and then flare it off. The first question is, where will the flare be? Because it'll be burning all the time. And the second, there's a little statement along with it. The Railroad Commission, bringing them up is making us supposed to feel better. I've been around petroleum, oil, and gas all my life. The Railroad Commission in Texas doesn't do anything half the time. It's illegal in Texas to flare gas on an oil lease, period. Now, when you drive from here to San Antonio or Austin, you go through the Eagle Ford Permian, they flare 24/7. It's against the law of the Railroad Commission rules. They don't care. They don't do anything about it. So my main question is, where will the flare be for your facility?
It's not flare, it's a vapor combustion. And sir, you want to talk about the technical components of that?
Yeah, so very different. A flare, it burns it off just like you say. You can see it visually. Vapor combustion is exactly the opposite. If it's flaring, there's a big problem with it.
So you don't see the emissions. You don't see any light, you don't see, and by the way, if anybody wants to see these operations in operation, if you've got private plane craft, go over to the site and see them there. If you want to see them near harbor, it's a restricted area, we'd be more than happy to put together some tours. For those of you, if you want to appoint some people as part of your community group to go over there and see it, we're happy to show you how it's being done today. I also would encourage industry. Because we're not industry, we're a government agency. We're that buffer between industry and you all, right? Which means we're listening to you, we're listening to them. I would love to have industry come here and answer some of these questions too.
Sean,
yeah, yes, sir.
My name is Alan Bunny, and I'm the president here. Earlier you asked the number of vessels that go by the ferries right now, and I didn't hear the answer. And the next question would be this: once this project is done and 4 years. You said that you're going to do a study, a complete study of how many vessels would be coming through at that time. The question is, if you determine there's too many vessels that are interfering with and increasing the amount of traffic from the ferries, and also our fishermen can't get out of the channel any longer, just thinking 3 or 4 hours because we've got twice or 3 times the amount of vessels, could you possibly mandate and state that we will only allow so many vessels coming in to the channel per day, 365 days? Is that one part of your studies, or where does it end, where does it start?
So you gotta understand, it's a federal channel. As a federal navigable waterway, by federal law, you cannot restrict its use. Okay? Now, the Coast Guard has safety responsibility. So they can put restrictions, okay? They can put restrictions based on types of vessels. In the case of the LNG vessels and the LPG vessels, they're actually escorting them out, or our Marine Patrol is escorting them out. But when you look at the amount, does anybody today think that the ship channel is congested today? Because right now we do about 25 to 35 vessels a day, and that's, either way, being around. And we do probably a similar amount of barges, okay? But as those vessels grow, and as you load more product on those vessels, you have less demand for those vessels. But we are seeing, when the vessels get bigger, instead of 1 pilot, we might need to have 2 pilots, or even 3 pilots. So what we recognize is, from a pilotage standpoint, we also recognize that with certain vessel classifications, they're restricted to, there's restrictions, there's daylight restrictions, there's one-way traffic restrictions. There are things that we need to do from a people, process, and technology standpoint to try and improve the fluidity of that waterway. That means more aids in navigation, more training for the pilots, certainly more pilots themselves, and we need to start looking at some other things like nighttime movements of some of the vessels that currently have restrictions on it, and perhaps two-way traffic with the widening of the Corpus Christi ship channel. But I can assure you, based on what we see today, relative to Houston and relative to some other waterways, we've got a lot of fluidity still, a lot of capacity in the ship channel. Yes?
Oh, well, she had a question.
Hi, Mr. Schwarber, G9. I have a series of questions, but I know I don't get to ask them all. I guess what I do want to say, though, is in reference to operations in Long Beach, California. I do want to point out that it's considered one of the most polluted works air quality ports in the United States, and that is due primarily to ship emissions. I noticed also that when we saw the port's application, air quality application, failed to address ship emissions. And now we have another person coming in, the Access Midstream, who now has an application submitted, and they also are going to fail to show us the ship emissions, and that would be on the other side of the ferry lane. So here's what I have. Out of all these questions, I guess what it boils down to is the port says environmental excellence, and the port also wants to be the steward of that environmental excellence as well as everything around here. You do say you want to help and support us, but I do want to point out that after Hurricane Harvey, I just know there was no port anything here to help us out. And let me just say, we got hit, not y'all, not Corpus Christi. We got hit here, big time. What do you think would have happened if that had been that facility? With no emergency services, you're all cut off, no power, and no water. What do you think would have happened to that facility then? Because nobody could get to it any better than they could get to here. But, keeping on the trend, coming back to the nice part of me that says, you want to be the environmental and set the tempo and set the stage, then why don't you take it all the way, and accept nothing less than offshore only for
But like everybody else, I guess I have a long list of questions, but I'm going to get one or two. One of the issues that no one seems to be addressing to me is the issue of changing the hydrodynamics of the channel by doing this dredging project. There was President, a graph showing little change in tidal flow from that. But it's my understanding that's a two-dimensional model. And so three-dimensional model would be infinitely better in showing the changes in the hydrology or hydrodynamics in the channel. And one real possible effect of having this much deeper channel right in the intersection is to actually reduce the tidal excursion, which would reduce rubble transport. So I guess my question is, are you thinking about that? Are you prepared to do the kind of modeling that it would take to address those questions?
I'm going to let the smart people answer that question.
Well, we do have, and I'll use the word engagement because we are paying Dr. Jim DeVoe to do three-dimensional modeling of hydraulics, storm surge. I'll send you the scope of work. We engage them. I think the contract them for our commission spring. So they've been on for about 3 months. It's their entire duration of their scope of work is a year with interim deliverables every quarter. So we're coming up on the first interim results and sending the scope of work. But that's what Jim DeVoe is looking at for us. Exactly.
Okay, we've got a gentleman up here who's the patient. Mark.
Yes, my name's Mark Grossi. I'm a 50-year resident, almost 50-year resident of Port Aransas, live right across the channel from Harbor Island. 3 statements to make them short. Just flew in today and I'm playing much older than you. And then you look down and it's obvious oil and gas had a big impact on our area. And certainly economically it's helped the Texas and Carpus area. Nonetheless, it's been hard on the environment. All you have to do is look down and see the spoil islands that cover up what used to be bays and estuaries and things of that nature. So nobody could argue that the environment is worse today than it was 200 years ago. I don't think anybody would argue that. Two, we talked about the pristine beach down on Port Island, north of the Port National Seashore. If you look north from here, you have San Jose Island, where although privately owned, certainly a pristine beach. You have Port Island, which is publicly owned and a pristine beach, 60 miles of pristine beach north of us. The shed is going to go over, and I don't know what that means, better than it doesn't come to us, and apparently that's important. Not necessarily me, I'm kind of on a bigger scale. As far as jobs, Port Aransas itself, I'm just a real estate guy. That's all I know how to do, sell real estate in Port Aransas, Texas. I don't know how to do anything else. But I've watched people here, and I've seen the different things on Harbor Island and this area, and starting with Brown and Root, and when Exxon was over there. I think I could count on one hand, but for sure on 2 hands, the people I've known that lived in Port Aransas and worked at those places. They didn't work. They couldn't, most of them worked there, even though a lot of them were fairly highly paid jobs, couldn't afford to live here, so they lived at other places. So as far as the true impact of Port Aransas in our economy and in our jobs, it's not there. Now for my statement, or not statement, a question, you're supposed to get a question out of this. Once again, I'm a real estate guy, and we know there's an alternative to what y'all are proposing in our island. It's another, really, if I had 240 acres or whatever it is over there, and I've already seen that there's unforeseen things you can do with it. The wind turbines next door on the Rachel stuff is a good example. I think I'd just keep those cards close to my vest, go ahead and put the buoy offshore. I still have 200 and some odd acres, maybe 19 acres given up for whatever it is. And look to the future. Let's hope for something that's better than what y'all want to do.
think it was a question. Why wouldn't you host?
So I'm going to take a step. So the Port of Corpus Christi is an independent political district of the state of Texas. We're governed by Texas Government Code and Texas Water Code, Chapter 60 and 62. One of the things that those statutes require us to do is develop the land that we own for navigable commerce. Now, there are ports in this country that have properly paid for residential real estate or commercial hotels, restaurants, retail. There are port authorities that are allowed to do that in this country. If anybody's been to San Diego recently, you see all the downtown area. All that is developed by the Port of San Diego and the real estate group. Unfortunately, in Texas, port authorities are precluded from doing that. We can't. I would love to have that statute changed, because I would love to get into other things where we could use public funds to facilitate development for private use. That's really what the model is for us, is to develop public facilities for private industrial use today. And we can't do those other things by Texas statute. So we're required to do that. One of the things that port authorities all over the country have mandated for is what's called highest and best use. Highest and best use of the property. And so when we look at Harbor Island and we look at its historical uses, and we look at the fact that this is a redevelopment of this location. When you talk about going offshore, this is probably the only onshore facility in the Texas Gulf Coast that can handle the LCCs. I don't think, I mean, the whole U.S. Gulf Coast for that matter. I don't think there's any other facility in the entire U.S. Gulf Coast that has the ability to go to 75 feet with minimal impacts and be able to load safely and competitively fully loaded with LCCs. That's what makes that piece of property so attractive for us with our statutory mandate. Folks, we're just doing our jobs. That's all. We're just doing our jobs. If you want, as voters and as people who are active in your community, if you want to give us some additional tools in our tool belt that will allow us to develop some of those other things, talk to the legislators. We just had a legislative session. Let's talk about that as we go forward and see if that's something we can get in traction in Austin. Because I know we have 18 public port authorities in the state, 17, 18 port authorities, 17 port authorities in the state. Probably involved in some other tools in our tool. Yes, sir.
Okay, so my name is Charles Walker. I have a couple of comments and a question. My first comment is that we're not anti-oil. This group is not anti-oil. We're actually pro-oil. And we're actually in favor of the oil getting shipped out to wherever it needs to go. We recognize the importance of oil to this state, and we appreciate the jobs that they create and what they contributes to our economy. However, the Port of Corpus Christi is not oil. You are not oil, and you don't generate jobs related to the oil industry. So that has nothing to do with the conversation. You keep bringing that up, but that has nothing to do with this conversation. So another thing is that we as a group recognize that with all the spin, all the hype, all the explanations, all the excuses, everything that is said to us, this boils down to one thing and one thing only, and that is the Port of Corpus Christi making money. That's all it is. We understand all the slides, and you really underestimate the level of intelligence of this community and our ability to sort through the spin.
So I just want to stop you there.
Okay.
I do not underestimate the intelligence of this community.
I think you do.
No, sir, I don't. And I think that's an offensive statement for you to even indicate.
It's not meant as a
I care about this community as much as all of you do. And what I'm trying to help you understand is where we spend our money, okay? Where we spend our money to help improve this community. And for you to think that I don't care about this community and that it's all about the money that helps this community. When I say this community, we serve 2 counties here, and we also serve Laredo, San Antonio. We serve the whole South Texas area there. And again, the money that we earn stays in this community and goes to helping this community improve all day long.
Good enough. Okay. I have a question, though I haven't asked yet. Okay. No, that was a statement. I have a question. So my question is this: for quite some time now. I've heard rumors through this community, as I know many of the people in this room have, that people from the commission have gone throughout the community stating, you're wasting your time to oppose us, this is a done deal. The desal plant, the VLCC terminal, this is all done deals. You're wasting your time and your energy to oppose us. So, you know, we're wondering, okay, well, is it really a done deal? So this past week, we received in our hands from TCEQ letters that are in their file, that are written. Now, today is the end of the comment period for the desal deal.
Yes.
On the 10th. So they're supposed to make a decision today, I believe. And then I know that the head guys already recommended approval of the desal permit, the discharge permit, and it still has to go to the commissioners. There's been numerous requests for a contested hearing with regard to the desal discharge. So including Senator Colcourse as well as our own city. So the question is this, in the files of TCEQ, they already have letters with your permit in place. All they need is the date on it. It has the approval, here's your letter of approval, to operate your deal. So how is it that you think that the TCEQ has already approved your facility, has a letter in the files, which we have a copy of, approving it, when the process hasn't even finished yet? So to me, it looks like there's something going on behind the scenes. We're wondering what you or your commissioner or anyone in your organization knows about that.
Neither I nor anybody on staff, and certainly not the commissioners, were aware of that letter before this fine lady where did she go? Did Kathy leave? Yeah. Before Kathy sent us an email yesterday, I think. Sunday? Yeah, yesterday. Saturday night, okay. It's the first time we had seen it. So I cannot speak for the TCEQ and their process. First time we saw the letter was when Kathy brought that to our attention. But I can assure you, we are running the process as the process was designed and by statute. If they have some, pre-made forms that they're teeing up, I don't know anything about their process. But the first time that it came to our attention was on Saturday night when Kathy Fulton shared that with us as part of her information request. It's 8:05. We got time for a couple more questions. Let's go back and forth here. So yes, ma'am.
My name is Pat Kuglerberg. I live here, and I don't have a question. I have a lot of questions, but I just want to read something from the paper. It's a quote from you, sir. I know it's a small but vocal constituency out there. Are we going to be able to please everybody? Question mark. Are we going to be able to get everybody to agree with us? Question mark. No, of course not. We're not even going to try.
That is a quote.
Yeah, probably not a well-crafted statement. We don't always get it right. I think in that particular context, and I know I was with Dan Parker from the South Jetty. The whole context there is, we're not going to be able to agree on everything. We're here to share information. That's why I said, we're not here to try and change your minds. We're here to share information. It's up to you all to arrive at your own conclusions based on the information that we provided you. And certainly, if we haven't satisfied your need for more information, tell us. Tell us, and we will make every effort to try and satisfy your need for more information. But one of the things to understand is, we have information. We don't want to put information out there, and I'll give you a good example. Last year, I think in Chairman Zahn's State of the Port, he put up some depiction that one of our consultants had come up with that had a sea of tanks on Harbor Island, okay? Well, that hadn't been vetted. That was just some sort of a rendering that one of our consultants said, here's how many tanks you could potentially put on Harbor Island. And all of a sudden, that became gospel because it got out there in the community. That to us is not good communication. Good communication is working with our tenant, working with the regulators, working with y'all, and what's come out of it now is that tankage is not going to be on Harbor Island. It's going to be back. For hurricane reasons, for safety reasons, for aesthetic reasons, it's not going to be anywhere near Harbor Island. It's going to be back on the mainland, in Taft,
in Midway Junction, which is going to be the Cushing of the coast, if you will. That's where a lot of the tankage is being built right now, based on the additional volumes that are coming our way. Those are tough to overcome because they get out there in the community and somebody grabs onto that, like Mr. Donovan, who I think has been a great advocate for y'all, but he's got some misinformation on his website. And when we've said to him, John, you are misconstruing or misrepresenting what we're doing there, please take it down. He hasn't done that. It's there to incite. I mean, come on, it's Sal Alinsky's, 12 rules of getting people riled up. Okay? All right, last question.
So earlier, Jeff or somebody got up and said that he wanted to have an earnest and respectful dialogue. I do not want to insult you. I want you just to listen and let me talk for a second and kind of take a deep breath and understand where you all are sitting and what you are showing us is not comforting. Our community is very concerned about this. No port in America has ever been dredged to 75 feet, especially in such a small channel. The dredging that's been done has never been done in a channel as small as Corpus Christi and the Lydia Ann Channel. You do not know with those studies that Sarah Garza put up what the exact result will be of all that silt. You have some studies done on smaller scales. This has never been done. Two things you're not also facing. In our community, there are only two ways to get off of or out of Port Aransas. If your VLCC wrecks that ferry system, there is going to be panic. Everyone is going to race down 361 to Corpus, where you live. I want you to remember that. People are going to remember Sean Strawbridge pushed this. There was a man in 1988 named Joseph Hazelwood who wrecked the Exxon Valdez. You are going to be known when one of those huge VLCCs or something horrible happens for generations. We are going to keep your name alive. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you a simple fact. You are going to the mat for corporations. You are not worried about the goodness of our community. Jeff up there said he is supposed to be representing the Port of Corpus Christi, who is supposed to represent prosperity for local and state residents of Texas. You don't really seem too concerned about what will happen when something bad happens to the poor mom and pops who are running golf carts, to the guy who rents beach umbrellas, to the restaurant workers. I don't know what you make, I don't care what you make, but I bet it's not 20 to 40 grand part-time with no benefits, relying on tourism. You seem to be up there, all of you saying, this is such a great thing, it's going to have no impact on the ecosystem, but you keep saying, we have to develop this, we have to do this. Corporations came to us, they're so great, they're American. Do you understand when you look out here and you say, you're not embracing change? This is not a change that you would embrace if you lived on Port Aransas in a rental making $20,000 a year. You would not in any way back this if you were a fishing guide who was going to lose his very livelihood the second there is a huge ship channel wreck, and there will be. There has never been a port in the state of Texas, actually in America, that has done this kind of development from Houston, Hudson, New York. It doesn't matter. You can pick any port. When there is a horrific oil wreck, as there will be, the fallout from this, you cannot even imagine because we've never had one. Okay. You keep saying it's so safe.
Okay. So let me just respond.
System. Mark my words.
So two things. One, I certainly hope that my legacy is not Captain Hazelwood.
It will be. It will be.
Because that certainly would be a dubious legacy. But two, sir, with all due respect, people said that about the 54-foot project. They said it about the 45-foot project. They said it about the 36-foot project. They said it about the 26-foot project. And they said it back in 1923 when visionaries from Robert Driscoll and folks in Clayburgh County at the
King Ranch said, we need a port for our cotton industry down here. People said it cannot be done, okay? Every time that we have had to do these things, people have said the same thing over and over and over again. I appreciate what you're saying, okay? I appreciate your concern. All I can say is these fine people here and the fine people that work at the Port of Corpus Christi and the governors that I work for, the Port Commission, are listening to you. We're going to make whatever adjustments we can, okay? So with that, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for coming, for sharing your valuable time with us. Please get home safe, and certainly we've got a new website. If you can go to it before you leave real quick, get to the website there. We're launching a new website today called Harbor Island Info. You may want to get to it, and as we get more information, it'll be available on that website. Thank you very much, everybody.